That's all you do. Yeah, you don't leave for teaching it profession, you go straight to work. No, I didn't understand. Language mom passed away. I don't know if I was, it's like, those of us that didn't grow up around here might actually know her. I mean, I remember Brad, we're talking about if he went to teach again, or if he went straight to corrections. He went to rec center. Brad in 1983. Oh, yeah.
I want to welcome everybody to our meeting tonight. If you'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I need a motion and a second on the approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? I need a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of the September 21st, 2021 meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? In our communications tonight, Dr. Jamie Lamons has something to come over and give us some details on, please.
All right, I get the privilege of picking this month's October Heartland Hero. And when I think about what it means to be a Heartland Hero, I think it means more than just providing a service to specifically the high school. A Heartland Hero acts and serves our entire community. And when deciding who our Heartland Hero would be this year, it was important to me that it be someone who's committed to our great community of Farmington. So that is why I reached out to one of my former students and made him take part in tricking his wife into joining us tonight so I could honor her for all she does for our community. So we told her she had to be here tonight to present on all the charitable work she does, but instead I'd like to invite her to the stage to give her this award. Miss Ashley Grindstaff. So you can't be too mad at me because now you don't have to talk. Okay. So Ashley defines a true Heartland Hero for the following things she does. She's leader of the Living Well Project, raising money to dig wells in rural Kenya. She hit the goal of $35,000 this year, so that process has started to dig the first well next fall. She's a member of the Help the Hungry Board. She's a member of the Ministerial Alliance Board and volunteer for the food pantry and thrift store. She's organized the local effort for the community to provide lunch on 2 different occasions for all the staff of the Farmington School District, the whole district, not just one school. She serves at her local church and basically says yes to every opportunity to make someone else feel special or to provide a need. FHS staff is especially thankful for Ashley's passion to get more people involved. She always pays her kindness forward, and that kind of mindset is contagious. We need more people so willing to serve. We are so thankful to have her support of our entire district, and that is why she is our Heartland Hero. And Ashley is joined tonight by her husband, Paul, and their 4 girls, Cora, Ava, Molly, and Willow. So thanks for coming tonight, girls. All right, next, if Miss Jackie Watson could join me on the stage. I told Miss Watson I was going to take this award from her since she left the high school, but I didn't. So Miss Watson has worked for the district since 2009, and I was so thankful when she ultimately made her journey to the high school. I knew our high school students were going to be so blessed the minute I met her. Her love of her craft and her passion to reach all kids oozes out of her. She's the first teacher in our district to receive this honor twice from different buildings and leave it to Miss Watson to make history. I've worked at FHS for a little bit now, and I've had many teachers retire or take new positions. Miss Watson is in a new position this year, but when our students found out that she was leaving, I've never had more students in my office and emailing me, yelling at me, telling her I had to make her stay, like I'd somehow made her do this. But they were so excited when they learned that she was going to be able to make an impact on even more students. Now that she's in her new position, they still come to me when they hear she might be in the building. I don't even know how they find out that she might be there. But they're like, I heard Miss Watson's here. And I'm like, I don't know. And even today, she came to the high school and a student basically stalked her because he heard that she was there. So they miss her terribly, and that is a sure sign she has made an everlasting impact and will continue to do so in her new position. When we gave her this award last year, one of her student comments stuck with me. The student said, "This woman is not only an inspirational teacher, but she's our mom. She stays honest to get our work done, helps us with whatever need we need, make sure we're actually doing okay, and not just are you okay, but the actual pulling up a chair and making sure. She's funny, and she's a rule follower, and she makes me want to be a better person. She's got the fire to be a good teacher, and she uses it. It's for all these reasons above that I'm honored to have her be our FHS featured teacher." And Miss Watson is joined by her husband, Zach, and their kiddos, Bo, and where did Quincy go? Okay, there's Quincy, and her mom and dad. And her mom, I think, is just as crazy about her as we are, right, Mom?
Thank you, Dr. Lamont. On our information portion of the meeting here, we're going to have a presentation by Mrs. Amanda Sullivan.
Hello. So you all have documents that were shared with you in the board docs, so I'll reference those as I go through. So the annual performance rate is a snapshot of how Missouri public school districts and charter schools are performing. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education gathers data on a yearly basis, mainly to determine districts who are successful, and again, those who are also failing. The score does not affect funding in any way. However, DESE does grade districts based on 5 categories. First, academic achievement. Second, subgroup achievement. Third, college and career readiness. Fourth, attendance. And fifth, graduation rates. For the 2020-21 school year, DESE made the decision not to release the annual performance report. State assessments were not administered during the 1920 school year due to COVID-19 pandemic and also resulting in school closure. In addition, other third-party assessments were not administered, or fewer assessments were administered than in previous years, leading to the inconsistency in data. While the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education will not generate the annual performance rate or report, they did report data, and also downloads were made available. And those have been attached to the board docs for you to view. So if you would please click on the third button, which references the MSIP reports. I'll talk quickly through those. All right, the first report is the MSIP 5 Performance Standard 3, indicators 1 through 3, as well as the fourth indicator. The percent of graduates who scored on or above state standard on any department-approved measure of college and career readiness, and also the district's composite score. The third MSIP 5 performance report that you have in your downloads reflects indicators 5 and 6 of college and career readiness, which is the percent of graduates who complete career education programs approved by the department and who are placed in occupations directly out of high school. The fourth MSIP performance standard is attendance rate, is the percent of students who regularly attend meets or exceeds the state expectation. And then the fifth one is the graduation rate. I didn't go into great detail there. As we all know, the COVID-19 greatly impacted those reports, and that is why the annual performance rate is not available to us this school year. However, I put together a second report for you, so if you will click in your board docs on that second document, this is what I believe you will find to be the most interesting is the academic performance of Farmington students. We worked extremely hard to focus on the well-being and academic success of students during the extraordinary 2020-21 school year. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, most aspects of last school year were not typical. DESE urged stakeholders to use the data to learn from their experience and how to deploy resources that would best support students, educators, and schools. Because the 2021 MAP tests were taken under unprecedented circumstances during the COVID-19 pandemic, the State Board of Education voted in December of 2020 to waive the results of the state and federal accountability purposes. We, along with other districts, faced chronic absenteeism and learning disruptions due to illness, quarantine, stress, fatigue, and mental health challenges, as well as changes in learning method, which would include in-person, distance, in-person, and then of course, hybrid. So looking at the report attached, you will find the district participation rate, exceeded 90%. The expectation was that we would exceed 85% or have at least 85%. The district advanced and proficient performance levels are reported in subject and in comparison to the state average. In ELA, Farmington proficient and advanced scores were at 50.6% in comparison to the state average of 44. In math, Farmington proficient and advanced scores were at 42.2% in comparison to the state average of 35%. In science, Farmington proficient and advanced scores were at 47.8% in comparison to the state average of 39%. Next, you have three documents within that bundle that has a breakdown by grade level in comparison to the state average, noting that in most all cases reported Farmington is above state average. Approximately 13% of our students who completed the state assessment were distance learners. Again, you have that as your next document in your report, and this report shows the proficient and advanced percentages of all of our distance learning students. Finally, Farmington plans to use the district data from the 2021 school year to illuminate areas of need, focus on learning acceleration for students, create profiles of student performance in combination with local assessment scores, and provide appropriate evidence-based educator training. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share an overview of our district data with you. I look forward to November, where our building principals will be able to report to you in a more detailed report their areas of strength, areas of growth, and their action steps to get there.
Thank you. As you can see, we have some policy updates that begin a 30-day period of review. Next on our discussion and action, Mr. Neil Branham of L.J. Hart and Company will present some bond issue resolution.
Thank you for having me. I'll try to make it quicker, just because I know it can get long-winded sometimes when we talk about finance. So, but I'm here to go over a couple of refunding options that you have. You have the Series 2017 bonds that are callable starting December, well, it's March 1st of 2022. So starting December 1 of 2021, we could lock in a refinancing to save some money for the district. So I have a couple of different options for you to look at, and then just a look at some long-range planning that Mr. Rubel had asked me to look at. So in your booklet, I'll just go in there real quickly to page page 3 is where it starts. Schedule 6. And so this is the remaining payments, and it's past the table of contents, sorry. Got some Roman numerals in there and everything. But on Schedule 6, we have the remaining payments for the Series 2017 B bonds. And these refunded actually the Series 2016 bonds, which was the last piece of that $28 million bond issue that was passed. And it's already saved $1.3 million in this refunding. So this would be on top of that 1.3 we've already saved. So you have interest rates on these from 2029 to 34 at 2.7 to 3.25%. The total amount that's left outstanding is $8 million. So under the yield statistics, third line down, that average interest rate or average coupon is 3.03% currently. Just with all-time low rates in the municipal bond market, it just gets much lower than that now. So with that, I'll skip forward actually to pages 5 and 6. And I'm not going to go over the full cash flow analysis because I know we've done this in previous meetings. But basically, on the far right-hand side, you have your balances versus your debt service fund payments. It's actually enlarged on the next page. It's easier to see on page 7. And basically what happened is the way our bonds are structured and the growth that the district has seen is the next couple of years, you're going to have to do prepayments to keep that 90-cent debt service levy. So basically what we looked at is a refunding that just keeps everything the exact same, and we've looked at a structure that would alleviate having to do that prepayment each year. So we've pushed principal up, which saves the district some more money. The first option is on page 8, or starts on page 8. And this is keeping the principal payments the exact same as what they are. So going from 2029 to 34 again. And this is for $7,775,000 to refund $8 million. Okay, that 2% interest rate is sold at a premium. So under the yield statistics, the third line down, that bond yield for arbitrage purposes is 1.16%. That's the effective interest rate that you'd be receiving. So it's going from 3.03% down to 1.16% roughly. How that works from a pricing standpoint is on page 9. So we've had our last, I think, 3 or 4 bond issues that we've done, refunding and new money bonds have been all sold at a premium. So this would be the exact same because it's still what the investor is looking for. So you'd have the 2% interest rate, and just on that 2034 line, The yield to the investor is 1.3%, which means the district would be paying back $1,375,000 in bonds, and the investor would be giving the district in upfront money, $1,423,345 for that maturity. The difference in that dollar price maturity value is the reoffering premium. Basically, what that goes to is to pay the cost of issuance, and then it reduces the size of the refunding bonds that we're doing. That's why it's $7,775,000 instead of the $8 million that we're paying off. Okay, for the savings on that structure on page 10, it's down at the bottom of the savings column there, $1,045,890. Okay, this is a good structure, and it shows you what you can save by just lowering the interest rate specifically. But looking at your cash flow and how it works, it's probably better to do the second option that we have. And that starts on page 15. So with the balances that you have and the payments in the next couple of years, the state auditor would make you roll back that 90-cent debt service fund levy unless you push up principal payments. So on page 15, schedule 12, we have those principal payments where they were starting in 29 and going to 34. We've moved that 2034 maturity up into 2024 and 2025. Okay, $375,000 in 24 and $1 million in 2025. What that's going to do is it's going to keep your debt service levy at 90 cents for 2 more years without having to do an additional prepayment. Okay, and on that, the bond yield for arbitrage purposes goes to 1.06%, as opposed to the other structure, 1.16%. It's a slightly lower interest rate because you're pushing principal up and paying it off earlier. Okay, on the page 17, the savings for this structure is under that savings column, $1,313,133. So you're saving about $250,000 more with this structure and pushing up principal. From a cost standpoint, what it actually costs the district is on page 18, the source and uses of funds. So under your sources of funds, you have your proceeds from the refunding, $7,765,000. The reoffering premium of the $342,462. Under your uses of funds, it pays off the $8 million of bonds that you have outstanding, and it pays the cost of issuance. Their total up $103,615. Okay, and then there's just a small amount that's given back to the district, $3,847.70. But that cost of issuance doesn't come out of the balance. It's coming from the premium that's generated from the sale. So that doesn't actually have to be wired or anything like that. On page 21, how that looks on your cash flow. As you can see, we've bumped up those payments in 24 and 25 to hopefully alleviate having to do an additional prepayment each August in order to keep that levy at 90 cents. But at the same time, saving $250,000 more dollars. Okay. The rest of the booklet, I'm not going to go in detail. It's just there for your for you all to reference. As far as Mr. Rubel asked me to put together some scenarios for a bond issue, no tax rate increase bond issue in 2023 and 2024, and I did that. I looked at the bonding capacity in 2023, and that's actually on the next page. It's $38,479,108, and as a no tax increase bond issue, so keeping it at 90 cents, the district could do up to $36 million if the district wanted to move forward in 2023. And then in 2024, the bonding capacity is $43,841,000, and as a no tax increase, could be about $41 million. Okay. As far as approval for the refinancing, since we don't have investors lined up to purchase the actual bonds yet, it's just like we've done a couple other times as a parameters resolution, and I have that in the front as a loose handout, and then I think it was also in the board packet. But again, this would just put together a final terms committee consisting of the board president, Mr. Rubel, Mr. Eaton, and then Larry Hart to lock in the interest rates when we have investors lined up. And again, since it is a parameters resolution, we have to fall within a certain bond yield for arbitrage percentage we have is 1.2%. So if it were to go above that 1.2, as right now it's 1.06, we would have to come back to the board and have it approved by the full board. But you're giving authorization that if it's underneath that, the final terms committee can lock that in. I can go into detail on that if you want me to. If not, these would also have another call feature on them in 2027. So anytime after 27, lower interest rates or having to do a prepayment for state auditor purposes, you could do that at any time after 27. But you have plenty more bonds that could be called prior to that. So, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, at this time, we need a motion and a second and a vote on the consensual agenda, of which one part of Mr. Neil Branham just spoke on also. So, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? At this time, need a motion to go to closed session to discuss personnel.
I move we go to adjourn to closed session to discuss personnel pursuant to 610.021, paragraphs 1, 3, 13, 14. Second.
Bowden?
Yes?